Rian stepped off the shuttle with a calm face, but his heart was full of excitement. Months had passed since he last walked through his home city. He had spent his days working on a far colony world, trying to finish a device that could give endless clean energy. The colony people treated him well, but he never felt fully at home. His mind always drifted back to his daughter Lena, who waited for him in the shining city that had raised them both. The shuttle port was bright, filled with long glass halls and quiet machines. Rian carried a small case in one hand. Inside the case was his research core, a small device shaped like a smooth stone. The city had once asked for it, but Rian wanted to be sure it was ready. His plan was to bring it home and test it safely before sharing it. With the world, the main road outside the port stretched far into the distance. Tall towers stood in two lines like guardians. Their windows shined under the warm sun. Rian took a long breath as the fresh wind touched his face. He could smell warm metal, green plants, fresh food from nearby shops, and the distant scent of fuel from transport pods. Everything felt familiar. He walked toward a transport station, but the line was long. Instead of waiting, he decided to take a quiet path that cut through the central city. This route was slower, but it helped him think. He wanted time to prepare himself before he saw Lena again. He had planned to surprise her. He had even brought a small gift for her in his bag, a tiny music cube that played soft notes when touched. He pictured her smile and felt a warm feeling rise in his chest. As he moved through the city, he noticed that some things had changed. Many shops in the center looked new. Some had shiny signs, but others were closed, their windows dark. A few streets were quiet, too quiet for a place that used to be full of life. Rian wondered why the city seemed uneven. Some buildings looked rich, others looked forgotten. He tried to ignore the feeling of unease that grew slowly inside him. Soon he reached a narrow pathway that led toward the older part of the district. This path had always been simple and peaceful. Children played near the road, small vendors sold warm bread, and workers repaired small machines in open stalls. Today the path looked different. Fewer people were outside. Some stalls were empty. A soft hum came from a damaged streetlight that flickered as if it had not been repaired for a long time. Rian slowed his steps. His eyes scanned the path ahead. A small crowd had gathered near a corner. They stood around a pile of old trash pieces and broken machine parts. The people looked worried. Some whispered quietly to each other. Rian wondered what they were looking at. He stepped closer. A gentle breeze brushed past him as he approached. When he reached the edge of the crowd, he saw a small figure sitting on the ground. The figure was a girl, thin, covered in dust, wearing old clothes that looked torn at the edges. She sat with calm patience, using her feet to guide a small metal assist tool toward her food. Her movements were slow and careful. She had no arms. Rian felt his heart stop for a moment. He stared, unable to breathe. The shape of her face, the curve of her hair, the small way she tilted her head while focusing, all felt painfully familiar. His mind resisted the truth for a second. Then the truth hit him hard. It was Lena, his daughter, the person he loved more than anything. A wave of shock rushed through him. He felt as if the ground had slipped beneath his feet. He stepped forward, almost stumbling, and dropped his case. It fell quietly on the dusty path. He walked with trembling legs toward her. Lena lifted her head when she sensed movement. She looked at him with wide eyes. At first there was no recognition. Then slowly her face softened, and she smiled with gentle warmth. Rian knelt beside her, his breath heavy. He reached out, but stopped himself before touching her. He did not want to scare her. He wanted her to know she was safe. Her small tool dropped from her foot, landing softly beside her. She whispered his name with surprise. Her voice was soft and tired, but filled with love. Rian felt his throat tighten as tears formed in his eyes. He had imagined seeing her happy and safe in their home, not sitting beside a trash pile and torn clothes. He wanted answers. He wanted to know how this happened. He wanted to understand why she was alone on a dirty street trying to eat without arms. But he stayed calm for her sake. He gently held her shoulder. She leaned toward him, resting her forehead against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her with care. She felt lighter than he remembered. Her breathing was steady, but he sensed a deep exhaustion hidden beneath it. The small crowd stepped back quietly. Some people whispered with sympathy while others turned away, not wanting to intrude. Rian looked at them and nodded in silent thanks. He picked up the small tool Lena had been using and placed it in his bag. Then he lifted her carefully. Her head rested against his shoulder. Her legs wrapped around his waist gently as he supported her with steady arms. Rian carried her toward home. Each step felt heavy, but his grip stayed strong. He passed through streets that once felt bright but now seemed darker and colder. His mind replayed the moment he found her. Every detail burned into his memory. He felt a slow anger rising within him, not wild anger, but deep anger that grew from fear and love. When he reached his home gate, he stopped for a moment. The gate looked the same, but the area around it felt less cared for. The small garden on the left side looked dry. Leaves covered the ground. The lights near the door were off. He pushed the gate open carefully and entered the yard. Inside the house, the air was still. Rian brought Lena to the living room and placed her gently on the soft couch. She looked around with tired eyes, noticing the familiar space. Rian sat on a small stool in front of her. He wanted to speak, but he could not find the right words. He took a deep breath and tried again. He asked her in a calm voice what had happened. He did not raise his voice. He did not show his anger. He wanted her to feel safe. Lena told him she was happy to see him. Then she spoke about the past months. She explained that things had changed after he left for the colony. A powerful tech group had arrived in their district. They wanted control over many things. They tried to pressure families who owned small businesses or had valuable skills. Rian was known as a rich inventor, so they had eyes on his home. She spoke slowly, but clearly. She told him there had been an accident months earlier. A city repair unit, which should have been safe, malfunctioned during a street repair task. She had been nearby. The machine caused a sudden impact that injured her. People rushed to help her, but the city guards arrived late. When they arrived, they did very little to support her. Later, she learned that many guards feared the tech group that had taken over the area. Lena told him she went through many challenges. She tried to stay home, but the tech group forced many families out, including her. Without support, she ended up on the streets. Some kind strangers helped her, giving her food now and then. She learned to use her feet to guide the assist tool so she could eat. She waited for Rian every day, hoping he would return. As she spoke, Rian kept himself calm. His hands shook slightly, but he did not let his voice break. He listened to every word, as if each one was carved into his heart. The more he heard, the more he understood the depth of her struggle. When she finished speaking, she looked at him with soft eyes. She told him she had never lost hope. She had believed he would come back. That belief kept her strong. Rian felt a warm tear roll down his cheek. He wiped it away quietly. He promised her she would never be alone again. He promised to protect her and give her a safe life. Lena smiled and leaned gently against him. Rian held her carefully. As he watched her rest, he felt something change inside him. The fear and sadness inside him slowly turned into firm resolve. He knew he had to find out who had done this to his daughter. He had to understand the truth behind the chaos in the city. He had to make sure no one else suffered the same fate. His mind focused with clear strength. Rian stood up slowly and walked to the window. The city lights glowed in the distance. They looked peaceful, but he now knew hidden danger lurked beneath that calm surface. He placed his hand on the glass and swore silently that he would bring justice to Lena. The morning sun poured softly through the wide windows of Rian's home. Lena sat at the small dining table, a tray of simple food in front of her. The assist tool that helped her manage daily tasks rested beside her. Rian prepared tea for both of them, careful not to spill a drop. Every movement he made felt slow because his mind raced with questions. How could his daughter have endured such hardship alone? How could the city he loved allow this to happen? And who was behind the events that had turned their lives upside down? Lena ate slowly, guiding the tool with precision. She looked calm, but the quiet strength in her eyes told Rian she had faced more than anyone could imagine. When she finished, she pushed the tray aside and met her father's gaze. There was no anger in her voice, only honesty. "I know you are angry," she said softly. "I wanted to wait for you. I wanted to stay safe, but the city was not safe anymore. I learned to survive on my own." "I did not want you to worry." Rian shook his head, feeling a mixture of sadness and rage. "You should never have had to survive alone." "Why did no one help you?" he asked. His voice was calm, but each word carried a heavy weight. Lena explained. "When the tech group arrived, things changed quickly. They wanted control over the energy devices in our district. They said they would bring progress, but it was control. Families who refused to cooperate were pushed out. Some left with fear. Some stayed, but were ignored when they needed help. I tried to stay, but I could not." Rian's fists clenched. He had always believed the city was strong, that people would protect each other. Now he realized how fragile their society had become under the influence of those who wanted power. He knew this group had been watching him. They must have thought he would never return. He asked Lena more about the accident. She took a deep breath and began. "The repair unit on my street had a malfunction. I was nearby. It was supposed to fix broken pipes, but the arm moved too fast. It struck me before anyone could react. I lost my arms that day. I do not blame the machine. It was supposed to help. I blame no one. People around me tried to help, but the city guards arrived late. They were afraid of the group. They did not act. I stayed on the streets for many months." Rian listened quietly, his mind absorbing every detail. He felt guilt for leaving her alone. Even though he had been on a mission to help people in the colonies, he realized he had underestimated the danger in his own home. Lena had survived with courage that amazed him. She had learned to adapt, to find solutions, and to remain hopeful. He admired her strength, but he also felt a burning need to act. "I will make this right," he said finally. "No one will harm you again. No one will control our lives in this way." Lena nodded, trusting her father's words. Rian began to plan. First, he needed to understand the group that had taken over their district. He needed to find out their structure, their motives, and their weaknesses. He could not rush blindly. Lena stayed beside him, listening carefully. She had learned to observe and think strategically. Together, they could gather information and prepare a plan to restore order and safety. That evening, Rian decided to visit the streets near the central plaza. He disguised himself with a simple cloak and walked through the alleys quietly. He noticed the difference between the upper city and the lower city. The upper city was bright, clean, and full of luxury. Towering buildings with shining glass reflected the setting sun. The lower city, where Lena had spent her months alone, was dark, filled with broken machines, empty shops, and scattered trash. People moved quickly, avoiding attention, and children played in narrow corners, careful not to be seen by guards or agents of the tech group. Rian's eyes focused on every detail. He observed the way the people interacted, the way the guards patrolled, and the placement of cameras and energy sensors. The tech group had created a network of control that kept citizens fearful. Small energy disruptions, limited access to water, and sporadic maintenance ensured that no one could thrive without permission. Rian's heart sank, but he also felt a surge of determination. He visited old friends in secret. Some were engineers, others were merchants who had lost their shops. He explained his plan carefully, showing them that they could regain control without using violence. Instead, they would create small, hidden energy stations. These stations could supply power to homes and workshops quietly. They could give people the tools to survive and to rebuild. One by one, his friends agreed. They trusted Rian. They knew his inventions had always been designed to help people. They also knew that the tech group would not stop easily. But hope began to spread in the hearts of the few who listened. When Rian returned home, he shared his plans with Lena. She listened attentively. "We can do this," she said, her eyes shining. "We can help people like me, people who were left behind." "We can make the city better," Rian nodded. He felt pride in her courage. Her months of struggle had taught her resilience and leadership. He realized that her strength could inspire others. She could become a symbol of hope. Together, they began creating small, helper devices for Lena. These devices were designed to assist her in daily life and allow her to regain some independence. As she tested the devices, she smiled for the first time in months. Rian watched her with relief. Even in difficult circumstances, she found joy in small victories. As the days passed, Rian and Lena worked quietly. They mapped out the city's energy grid, identified weak points in the tech group's control, and built hidden devices to distribute power. Each night, Rian returned home with new tools and blueprints. Lena tested and improved them. They became a team. One evening, Rian noticed something unusual. Small drones were patrolling near the district. They were new, faster, and equipped with cameras. The tech group was aware of changes in the city. They were becoming suspicious. Rian realized that time was critical. They had to move carefully, or the group could retaliate and harm citizens. Lena suggested that they recruit more helpers. Not many, just a few trusted friends who had skills in energy systems, communication, and repair. Rian agreed. They met secretly at night, in basements and unused warehouses. Each person shared knowledge, ideas, and tools. Together, they created a small network that could operate without being detected. The city began to change slowly. Hidden energy stations powered homes and workshops. Families who had been forced to leave began to return quietly. People found that they could cook, light their homes, and work on small machines without relying on the tech group. The fear that had controlled the lower city started to fade. Lena became more confident each day. She guided people, explained how to use small devices, and encouraged them to take small steps toward independence. She spoke to them with calm authority. Even without arms, she could lead. People listened because they respected her courage. Rian watched her with pride. He realized that her survival had taught her lessons he could never teach. She had learned patience, observation, and creativity. These qualities were now helping him in their mission to restore freedom and fairness in the city. At night, they would sit together, reviewing maps and blueprints. Lena would suggest improvements and Rian would test new devices. They shared quiet moments of laughter, relief, and determination. The house, once a place of worry, now became a center of planning and hope. The tech group, however, did not remain idle. They sent agents to investigate minor energy disruptions. They questioned citizens and tried to locate the hidden stations. Rian and his friends had to act quickly, moving stations or hiding them when needed. The tension grew, but it strengthened their resolve. Lena often reminded Rian of what mattered most. "We are not fighting for revenge," she said one evening. "We are fighting for people. We are fighting so no child has to live alone or hungry. We are fighting so the city becomes fair again." Her words struck Rian deeply. He realized she was right. Their fight was not just personal. It was for everyone who had been ignored, abandoned, or controlled. By the end of Part 2, Rian and Lena had built a small network of hope in a city controlled by fear. They had learned who to trust, how to move secretly, and how to inspire ordinary people to take action. Each small victory reminded them that no matter how powerful the oppressors seemed, determination, courage, and clever thinking could change everything. Rian looked at Lena that night as she rested in her bed. She had been through so much, but her spirit was unbroken. He promised silently that he would protect her, guide her, and together they would reclaim their city. The hidden truth was now clear. The tech group's control depended on fear, and if they could remove fear, the city would rise. Rian felt hope grow within him. Lena, with her courage and wisdom, had already begun the first steps toward that rise. The real fight was ahead, but they were ready. The city was quieter than usual that morning. The streets in the lower district were still. But the faint hum of machines and distant transport pods reminded Rian that life continued above the shadows. He and Lena had spent weeks preparing. Hidden energy stations were working quietly, giving families light, heat, and water. The people were beginning to see that the tech group's control was not absolute. Rian stood at the edge of one narrow street, looking at the patrol drones moving slowly above. He adjusted the small cloak around his shoulders and whispered to Lena, who stood beside him. We need to be careful. They are watching more than before. Lena nodded. Even without arms, she had learned to read the patterns of the city, to notice small movements that others would miss. She pointed to a corner where 2 drones changed their path slightly. They are checking that area, she said. We should move another way. Rian smiled at her sharp observation. Her months of struggle on the streets had made her a keen observer. Good. Lead the way. They moved through narrow alleys, avoiding patrols and cameras. Each step was deliberate, quiet, and precise. Their goal that day was to reach an abandoned workshop near the center of the lower district. There, Rian had hidden several new devices tools that could help citizens restore power and repair broken machines without relying on the tech group. As they approached, Rian's mind raced. He knew the tech group had spies everywhere. One wrong move could expose their efforts and put people at risk. But the stakes were worth it. The city had grown cold under fear. The people needed hope more than ever. They entered the workshop through a side door Rian had repaired weeks earlier. Inside, sunlight filtered through dusty windows. Tools, metal parts, and blueprints were scattered across workbenches. The room smelled of oil, metal, and old wood. Lena's eyes lit up. This place is perfect, she said. We can fix the stations and prepare new devices without being seen. Rian nodded. He began unpacking small machines from a hidden cabinet. Each one was designed to provide energy, clean water, or mechanical assistance to families in need. Lena guided him, pointing out where devices could be improved or simplified. Together, they worked as a team. The bond between father and daughter had grown stronger in these months. They understood each other without words. Suddenly, a faint sound reached Rian's ears. A soft metallic click echoed from the alley outside. He froze. Lena noticed it too and quickly pointed to a narrow window above the door. 2 figures moved quietly in the shadows, observing the workshop. They are watching us, Lena whispered. Rian took a deep breath and whispered back. We cannot panic. We need to think. He picked up a small drone he had been working on and sent it flying silently through a hidden vent. The drone moved quickly, observing the intruders and sending images to Rian's small tablet. The intruders were wearing dark cloaks, clearly agents of the tech group. They are only 2, Lena said. But we cannot be seen. Rian nodded. He activated a soft sound emitter in the workshop. It created a faint noise near the rear door, enough to draw attention. The agents outside heard it and moved toward the sound. Rian held his breath. He watched as they disappeared into the alley. Lena smiled quietly. Even without arms, she had become a master of strategy and observation. Once the threat passed, Rian and Lena resumed their work. They repaired devices, improved designs, and tested small energy cores. Each success filled them with confidence. They knew that these tools could slowly give power back to citizens and weaken the tech group's control. By evening, they were ready. Rian and Lena packed several devices into a small, hidden transport pod. Lena guided it with her feet, moving it silently through narrow streets. They delivered the devices to families who had struggled for months. Children smiled as lights turned on. Parents cheered quietly as machines began to work again. The energy that had been withheld for control was now a gift. One of the families, an elderly couple, looked at Lena with gratitude. You are brave, the woman said. Even without arms, you have given hope to all of us. Lena smiled, feeling pride and joy. She had learned that courage was not measured by physical strength, but by determination and heart. Rian watched the people respond. He realized that small actions could have a powerful effect. The tech group had relied on fear and obedience, but when people experienced hope, fear began to fade. Change could begin quietly, one family at a time, and grow stronger with every act of courage. That night, Rian returned to the workshop with Lena. They reviewed their progress and planned the next moves. The city was still dangerous. Agents of the tech group were everywhere. But they now had allies and hidden tools. They could move with strategy and intelligence rather than rushing blindly into conflict. Lena sat on a low stool and pointed to a city map. We can reach the northern district next. The families there are struggling. They have no access to clean water or energy. If we help them, more people will join us quietly. They will not rely on the tech group anymore. Rian nodded, impressed with her planning. You are right. The more people we help, the stronger our network becomes. We need to be careful, but steady progress will win. For the next several days, Rian and Lena repeated their missions. They delivered devices, repaired broken machines, and educated families on how to maintain them. Each successful mission inspired new confidence. Slowly, people began to speak quietly among themselves, sharing knowledge and courage. Rumors of the tech group's weakness began to circulate. Rian realized that they were not just delivering energy or water, they were delivering hope. Every small act of restoration reminded people that they could survive, adapt, and thrive without fear. Lena's example, her calm leadership, and her courage became a symbol of resistance. People looked at her and believed that if she could face hardship and remain strong, they could too. The tech group began to notice subtle changes. Reports from their agents mentioned that citizens were taking small steps to repair their own devices. Energy stations no longer depended entirely on the group's control. Panic and unrest began to grow among the agents, who realized that the network of hope was expanding faster than they had predicted. Rian knew the next step was more difficult. The tech group would respond. They could try to seize hidden devices, intimidate citizens, or send stronger patrols. Preparation was essential. He decided to gather trusted allies for a meeting in the workshop. Engineers, mechanics, and merchants who had seen the benefit of the hidden devices agreed to join. The meeting was held late at night. Candles flickered across the room as people spoke quietly. Ideas were shared, plans were improved, and schedules for new missions were made. Lena guided the discussion, suggesting ways to make operations safer and more efficient. Her voice carried calm authority. She showed that leadership was not about physical strength, but vision, courage, and wisdom. Rian observed quietly. He realized that Lena's months of survival had given her insight that even experienced adults lacked. She could see patterns, predict responses, and inspire others without force. Her bravery was changing the city, one act at a time. After the meeting, Rian and Lena walked through the quiet streets. The city slept under the soft glow of lights from hidden energy stations. He looked at Lena and felt pride and love. You have taught me something important, he said. Strength is not just in machines or inventions. It is in the heart, in courage, and in helping others. Lena smiled. We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting so no one is left behind. Every small act of courage spreads faster than fear. The tech group relies on fear, but hope is stronger. Rian nodded. He knew she was right. Their quiet actions, small as they seemed, were creating a movement. The tech group's control could not withstand the combined courage of ordinary people inspired to act. As the night deepened, Rian returned to the workshop. He began working on a new device, one that could secretly track the movement of patrol drones and alert citizens before danger approached. Lena assisted, pointing out locations where families most needed protection. Together, they combined strategy and technology. To build a safer network for the city, the first missions had shown them that change was possible. Fear had begun to fade, replaced by quiet confidence and determination. Lena's courage had sparked hope. Rian's inventions had given people the tools to act. And together, they were preparing for the day when the city would no longer live under oppression. By the end of the week, the hidden network of hope had grown. More families were involved. More devices were installed. More citizens had learned that they could survive and thrive without relying on the tech group. Rian looked at Lena. One evening, as she rested beside a small machine she had repaired, she had worked tirelessly, her focus sharp, her spirit strong. He realized that the next phase of their plan would need even greater courage. They would have to confront the tech group directly. But he was ready. He knew that, with Lena at his side and the citizens inspired by hope, they could face any challenge. The city had begun to change in small but important ways. Streets that were once dark and silent now had soft glows from hidden energy stations. Families whispered quietly to each other about the devices that made life easier. Children played in small courtyards where broken machines had been repaired. Every small act of restoration gave the people courage, and hope was spreading faster than anyone expected. Rian and Lena continued their work with careful determination. Every morning they checked the hidden devices, repaired what needed fixing, and planned new missions. Lena had grown stronger in her mind and spirit. She guided families in using the tools, teaching them how to repair and maintain the small machines. Even without arms, she became a natural leader. People respected her because of her courage and intelligence. One morning, Rian and Lena received an urgent message through a small, secure network. One of the families they had helped reported that the tech group had discovered a hidden energy station. Agents were heading toward the northern district, where many families were beginning to rebuild their homes. Rian's face hardened. He knew they could not confront the group with force. The city was not ready for open conflict, and innocent people could be harmed. He and Lena had to act with speed and intelligence. Lena quickly suggested a plan. "We can move the families and the devices to a safer location before the agents arrive," she said. "I will guide people, and you can disable the sensors temporarily." Rian nodded. They worked quietly, moving through narrow streets to reach the district. The families were frightened, but trusted Lena's calm guidance. Her presence reassured them. She spoke confidently, explaining what to do step by step. Children followed her instructions without fear because they sensed her courage. Meanwhile, Rian used a small device to create temporary disruptions in the city's sensor network. He had designed it to prevent drones and cameras from detecting movement in certain areas. As the agents approached, they found nothing unusual. Their instruments showed no activity. They passed by without suspicion. Once the families were safely relocated, Rian and Lena checked the energy station. The station was intact, but they added a new layer of protection. Hidden alarms and silent locks would alert them if anyone tried to tamper with it again. They smiled at each other quietly. Every small victory strengthened their resolve. That evening, Rian gathered the group of trusted friends who had been helping them in secret. Engineers, mechanics, and merchants met in the workshop to plan the next phase. The goal was to expand the network of hope further into the city. They would install new devices in districts that had suffered the most under the tech group's control. Lena spoke to the group, guiding the discussion. "We must be careful, but steady progress will win," she said. "Every family we help increases our strength. Every person we inspire spreads hope further." Her words were calm, but they carried authority. Even the adults listened closely. The group worked late into the night. Maps were studied, routes were planned, and small devices were assembled. Each device was designed to be simple and reliable. Families could use them without complicated instructions. Hidden in plain sight, they would give citizens independence from the tech group's control. Over the next few days, the network of hope grew rapidly. Families in the southern district received energy devices that powered homes and workshops. Children learned to operate small machines that had once seemed impossible to use. People repaired broken water systems and learned to share resources efficiently. The city began to feel alive again. Lena guided many of the missions personally. She moved quietly through alleys and side streets, checking on the families and helping them solve problems. Even without arms, she demonstrated remarkable skill and leadership. People admired her courage and ingenuity. Her presence inspired them to act, to learn, and to help each other. The tech group began to notice the changes. Reports indicated that citizens were becoming more independent. Families were repairing machines themselves and using hidden energy stations. Fear, which had controlled the city for months, was fading. The tech group realized that their influence was weakening. They increased patrols and sent more agents to investigate. Rian and Lena knew that the time for careful observation was ending. They needed to show the city that hope could triumph over fear. They planned a public demonstration, using devices to power a small square in the center of the lower district. Families and citizens would gather to see the machines working. The display would inspire everyone who watched. On the day of the demonstration, Rian and Lena worked tirelessly to set up the devices. Hidden wires connected energy stations to lights, fountains, and small workshops. Lena moved among the crowd, helping citizens understand the machines and how to use them. Children clapped with delight as lights turned on, water flowed, small machines operated smoothly. Rian watched quietly from the side. He felt a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. The people's faces lit up with hope. Families who had been afraid to leave their homes were now smiling and sharing their excitement. The city had not seen this kind of energy and joy in months. The tech group responded quickly. Agents arrived, trying to disrupt the demonstration. They were met with unexpected resistance, not through violence, but through organization. Citizens, guided by Lena and Rian, moved the machines and devices to safe locations. They explained to the agents that the city could no longer be controlled by fear. The demonstration continued, showing that courage and cooperation could overcome intimidation. By evening, the demonstration was complete. Citizens returned home with renewed confidence. Families now believed that they could live independently and protect themselves from the tech group's control. The network of hope had proven its power. Rian and Lena returned to the workshop to rest. They discussed the next steps. "We have inspired people," Lena said. "Now we must make sure they are safe. The tech group will try harder to regain control. We need to strengthen our network." Rian nodded. He agreed that preparation and vigilance were essential. They reinforced hidden energy stations, improved devices, and trained families to respond quickly to threats. Every family became a small hub of hope and defense. The city began to change visibly. Streets that had been dark and abandoned were now filled with activity. Small shops reopened, workshops repaired broken machines, and children played without fear. The tech group's agents grew frustrated as they found fewer areas under their direct control. Citizens began to cooperate quietly, sharing knowledge and resources. Lena became a symbol of the movement. People spoke of her courage, her intelligence, and her ability to inspire others. She taught them that true strength comes from determination, creativity, and the willingness to help others. Even without arms, she had led a city toward hope. Rian watched the results with pride. He realized that the city's transformation was not just about machines or devices. It was about people believing in themselves and in each other. Courage, cooperation, and hope were more powerful than fear and control. The tech group, sensing their weakening influence, began to plan a stronger response. They would try to intimidate citizens, sabotage devices, and target leaders of the movement. Rian and Lena knew that confrontation was inevitable. The next phase of their plan would require careful strategy, courage, and unity. As night fell, Rian looked out over the city from the workshop window. Lights from hidden energy stations glowed softly across the district. Families were safe, children laughed, and citizens moved confidently through the streets. He turned to Lena and said, "We have done well, but the fight is not over. We must prepare for what comes next. We will face it together." The city has learned that hope is stronger than fear. The tech group cannot stop people who believe in themselves. Rian smiled. He felt a deep sense of purpose. Together with Lena and the citizens, they had started a movement that could not be easily stopped. The city was rising again, powered by courage, intelligence, and determination. The hidden truth was clear. Fear could never last when people chose to act with hope. Rian and Lena had shown the way, and the city had begun to follow. The next phase would bring challenges, but the people were ready. They had seen what was possible, and they would not return to darkness. As the night deepened, Rian and Lena reviewed the city map once more. They marked areas where hidden devices were installed, where families were strongest, and where the tech group might strike next. Every detail mattered. Every preparation increased their chance of success. The rising hope in the city was now unstoppable. Families worked together, citizens shared knowledge. The network of hidden energy stations spread further into every district. Even the tech group's spies could not fully understand the strength of the movement. Rian and Lena had created something greater than inventions or machines. They had created a symbol of courage and unity that would inspire the city for years to come. That night, as they rested in the quiet workshop, Rian realized that the fight for the city was no longer just about protecting his daughter. It was about protecting the dreams, hopes, and lives of everyone who lived there. Lena, with her bravery and wisdom, had shown him that true strength comes from resilience, determination, and the willingness to help others rise. The city had changed. Streets that were once dark and empty were now filled with life. Families worked together repairing machines. Children played under soft lights powered by hidden energy stations, and small workshops hummed with activity. Hope had spread like a quiet river, moving through every district, every home. Yet even as the people celebrated their small victories, the tech group had grown desperate. Their control was slipping. They were planning a final move to regain power. Rian and Lena knew that confrontation was inevitable. The tech group had been monitoring the city closely. They had spies in every district and patrols that moved quickly when alarmed. Rian gathered their small network of allies in the secret workshop to plan their strategy. Engineers, mechanics, and merchants came quietly, each carrying tools, blueprints, and devices that would help protect the citizens. Lena stood at the center of the room. Her calm presence commanded attention. We cannot fight them with weapons. Violence will only hurt the people we want to protect. We must use our devices, our knowledge, and our courage, she said. We have shown the city that hope is stronger than fear. Today, we will show the tech group that they cannot control us anymore. The group worked through the night. Maps were studied, patrol routes were analyzed, and devices were prepared. Every hidden station was checked and reinforced. Communication lines were tested to ensure they could warn citizens if the tech group tried to strike. Lena guided every detail, her mind sharp and precise. She suggested routes for families to move safely, areas where citizens could gather without being seen, in places where the tech group's influence was weakest. At dawn, the city was quiet. Families stayed inside, ready to act when the signal came. The hidden energy stations provided light, warmth, and power to essential areas. Rian and Lena moved through the streets, checking the installations and encouraging citizens to stay calm. The people trusted them now. They had seen what Rian and Lena could do, and they believed in their guidance. Suddenly, distant alarms echoed from the upper districts. The tech group had launched a coordinated strike to regain control. Agents moved through the streets, attempting to disable devices and intimidate citizens. Their drones hovered above, scanning for activity. The city's tension rose, but Rian and Lena remained calm. They had prepared for this. Rian activated a small control device. Hidden energy stations sent signals to citizens, guiding them to safety and warning them of approaching patrols. Families moved quickly and quietly. Following the instructions from Rian and Lena, children, guided by their parents, assisted where they could. Citizens were no longer afraid. They acted with courage and precision. Lena moved among them, giving instructions with calm authority. Even without arms, she commanded respect. Her voice carried across the streets, directing families, helping them operate devices, and inspiring confidence. People who had once been timid and afraid now stood tall. They repaired small machines on the spot, powered streetlights, and rerouted energy to protect homes. The tech group's agents were surprised. They expected fear and obedience, but instead found organization and resistance. Hidden alarms alerted citizens to every move. Small devices disrupted patrol drones, sending them in the wrong direction. Families worked together to protect energy stations and workshops. The city had become a coordinated network of hope. Rian watched from a rooftop. He observed the movement below and felt pride in the people he had helped. Their courage was extraordinary. They had learned that even in the face of a powerful group, intelligence, unity, and hope could triumph. Lena stood beside him, guiding citizens with steady determination. Her calm presence inspired everyone. By midday, the tech group's influence had crumbled. Patrols returned to their bases without success. Drones were redirected or disabled. The agents realized that the citizens no longer relied on them for energy, food, or repairs. Fear had been replaced with confidence. The network of hope was unstoppable. Rian and Lena moved to the center of the city. They had prepared a final demonstration to show the tech group and the citizens that control through fear was over. Hidden energy stations, powered lights, fountains, and workshops across the central square. Citizens gathered quietly, watching as the machines operated flawlessly. Children laughed, families cheered, and the city seemed alive for the first time in months. The tech group arrived, attempting to disrupt the demonstration. They tried to intimidate citizens, destroy devices, and capture leaders. But they were met with unexpected resistance. Citizens, guided by Rian and Lena, moved devices to safe locations, explained operations, and refused to be intimidated. The demonstration continued without interruption. The city had learned that courage and cooperation were stronger than fear and oppression. One agent tried to destroy a small energy station. Lena moved quickly, guiding a group of citizens to reroute power and repair the device. The agent's attempt failed. The crowd applauded silently, proud of their ability to act together. Rian observed quietly, realizing that the city had changed in ways that the tech group could not reverse. By evening, the tech group retreated. Their agents returned to their bases, frustrated and defeated. Citizens cheered quietly, celebrating their victory. Families now believed they could live independently. They had learned to repair machines, use hidden energy stations, and protect themselves from intimidation. The network of hope had proven its power. Rian and Lena returned to the secret workshop. They checked every device, ensuring all stations were secure. Families were safe, and the city's infrastructure was stable. Lena smiled, her calm eyes shining with pride. "We have done it," she said. "The city is free. People no longer need to fear the tech group." Rian nodded. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. "This is only the beginning," he said. "Now, we can rebuild the city fully. We can ensure that every family has the tools to thrive and survive. Fear will no longer rule this place." The next days were filled with rebuilding. Streets that had been damaged were repaired. Shops reopened. Workshops hummed with activity, and families worked together to restore their homes. Hidden energy stations provided light, heat, and power. Children played safely in the streets. Learning to operate small machines and helping their families, Lena guided citizens in organizing the city. She taught them to maintain devices, communicate safely, and act together in times of need. Her leadership inspired confidence, and her courage reminded everyone that strength comes from determination and unity, not violence. Rian worked alongside her, repairing machines, improving devices, and planning the city's future. Together, they created a network of devices that could provide energy, water, and mechanical assistance to every home. The city would no longer depend on fear for order. Citizens could live independently, knowing they had the tools and knowledge to protect themselves. One afternoon, Rian and Lena stood on a rooftop, looking over the city. Lights from hidden stations glowed softly, families moved confidently through the streets, and children laughed as they played near repaired fountains. The city was alive. The tech group had lost its power. Fear had been replaced with hope, courage, and cooperation. Lena looked at her father. "We did it together," she said. "We have shown that no group can control people who act with courage and unity." Rian smiled. "You have taught me more than I could have imagined. Your strength, determination, and leadership have changed the city. We have done this together, and the people will continue to rise." The city council, now rebuilt with honest members chosen by the citizens, began planning for the future. Rian shared his research openly, ensuring that energy devices and support machines were available to everyone. Lena received specially designed assist arms that allowed her to move and work freely. Giving her independence and confidence, the people celebrated their new city. Streets were filled with laughter, music, and activity. Children learned, families worked, and citizens cooperated to maintain order and fairness. The tech group's attempts to control the city were remembered as a lesson in courage, hope, and resilience. Rian and Lena walked through the central square. Watching the celebrations, the fountains flowed, machines hummed, and citizens smiled. They had faced fear and adversity, but they had triumphed through courage, intelligence, and unity. Lena moved freely with her assist arms, demonstrating to everyone that obstacles could be overcome with determination and creativity. Rian knelt beside her. "I am proud of you," he said. "You have shown the city that true strength comes from within. You have inspired every person who lives here." Lena smiled. "We did it together. The city is stronger now because everyone believed in themselves. Courage, hope, and unity will always guide us." As the sun set, Rian and Lena stood on the rooftop, looking at the city glowing with life and energy. The streets were safe, families were happy, and children played freely. The city had risen from darkness into light. The new dawn had arrived. Fear no longer ruled. Hope, courage, and unity now guided the city. Rian and Lena had fulfilled their mission. The people had learned that strength comes not from power or machines, but from heart, determination, and the will to help each other. The city would grow brighter with every day. Hidden energy stations continued to provide light and life. Families shared knowledge and resources,